your doppelganger shit has me searching a load of stuff here.
Yeah.
Lookalikes. So far, hang on. This one has been the worst. Hang on. This one says you look like Bruce Lee. Nat King Cole.
Nat King Cole?
Yeah, Nat King Cole. 29% Nat King Cole.
This is terrible AI.
And a bunch of science physicists and stuff.
I got Freud as well.
Huh?
I got the one that I did. I look like Freud. Sigmund Freud.
The guy, the pioneer in television, 41%. Philo T. Farnsworth is the most that looks like you, and he doesn't really. He looks like he'd play a Nazi bad guy in a movie.
You see, when I did it, I got that I looked like Max Planck, some kind of physicist.
Who the fuck is Max Planck?
Google him. MaxPlanck.
Oh, in a minute, I want to check me now.
Okay.
But this is Family Search Comparatory Face, and you say these people are Mormons, are they? Mm-hmm. So the Mormons
as I know, that's them.
In my search for a doppelganger. Apparently my doppelganger, 36% is Helen Keller.
I can see it.
She's the miracle worker, right? No. What was the one that they did in South Park? She was Helen Keller, wasn't she?
Helen Keller was deaf, dumb and blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the one with the when they have the mentally disabled turkey on South Park.
I don't think she actually performed miracles, but
was
maybe
the miracle worker
Park.
Not the woman that worked with her that got her to communicate?
That was. Oh,
Isn't
shit!
that it?
What was Helen Keller's? No, she wasn't. She was just very good at her job. This woman. What was her name? Oh my god, that's going to annoy me. 2 seconds.
I also got Elvis Presley, 31%. Joe Louis, 30%. Marilyn Monroe, 26%. I'm sexy. 26% sexy.
Anne Sullivan.
Neil Armstrong, 26%. And the one I don't understand, except for when I'm in full Dr. Smokenstein mode, Nelson Mandela.
I thought you were going to say Frankenstein.
No, she's got the kind of closed eyes like I do too. They're not like squinty eyes. They're not like Asian eyes. They just look like his eyes are always kind of closed.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Nelson Mandela, think about it.
Yeah. No,
Can you ever remember seeing Nelson Mandela's eyes?
I can't picture a picture of him in my head not smiling.
Racist, and I'm going to get in trouble for it later.
No, but that's what I'm saying. In nearly every picture that I can think of him, he's smiling, so his eyes would be.
In this one where they compare him to me, he is not smiling, so he's unhappy to be compared to me. But that's, yeah. And then there's another one here. It's Star by Face. I think this is getting it all wrong. Well, it said you 36% Mila Kunis, and I did call Mila Kunis last time we watched Ted.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
But I got to try a different picture here. Yeah.
There's a girl down the road that did this as a social experiment on Facebook, and I think she got pretty viral out of it anyway. And she found her doppelganger online. She just went searching. She put out, I think, like an ad, or was it for like a like a thing for college? But she found her online. She's literally just from down the road.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But see, people say me and my cousin are pretty much doppelgangers. Like they constantly say that we're like
it's
brothers.
Weird sometimes. You do look very similar.
But does that count if you are related? Oh, Amy, this one's driven you right. Oh, there's a few here that I've called before.
It's specified that there's no DNA relation.
So with the picture that was not a promotional picture, meaning it didn't go through one or two apps to make it look all clean and tidy and promotional. Just a regular picture of you that I put in.
Yeah.
We got 50% Mila Kunis.
Okay.
So I definitely call that one right. 46% Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
So you got the two Ted girls.
I did get the two Ted girls.
Macy Williams.
Who's Macy Williams?
Maisie Williams.
Oh, Maisie Williams.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see that. Do I know Dakota? Maybe a tiny bit. Elle Fanning. Maybe more so than Dakota, I would say.
Who's this one? Sophie Turner again. Billie Eilish again.
We got them before.
So, I don't know who they give me on this one. Hang on 1 second. We'll have a quick look. Probably no one good. I keep getting the same shitty people. And I am still no doppelganger for me.
See, I wonder with the two of us given Helen Keller, because that family search one, it's like, genealogy, and they want to kind of, show off.
I got pretty much no one famous.
Well, what their names?
Top one
maybe
is 34% is Alexander Adja, which I don't really see.
Oh.
I don't know. That's a shit one. We'll try one more in my search for a doppelganger. iLookLikeYou.com. That sounds all right.
Yeah.
Now, some of these are looking for money, so we won't be doing that.
No.
Log in or sign up. We won't be doing this one. There used to be loads of these.
There
just
did.
celebrity lookalike
No, I
ones and
remember
stuff
that.
like
Yeah.
And there's loads and loads of artwork. This seems to be a very popular thing now. This finding your twin strangers.
That's it. On social media, it's twin strangers.
What's this about?
Oh, try. I think there's a twin strangers one.
Well, Doppleganger sounded so much cooler. What do we need twin strangers for?
I don't know.
No, there doesn't seem to be any more tests. There used to be fucking loads of these. Find my twin. A lookalike search engine. Upload. Okay. This one's just let me upload a picture. So let's see.
What if you do this and then someone finds you and it takes a single white female turn?
Huh? I won't contact the person, Amy. I'm not crazy.
Are they crazy though?
I talk to people on the internet. I don't want them to talk back to me. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is a joke.
What?
It's a joke website. I got the wrong one. It's just Mr. Bean in drag.
Oh, I'm on twinstrangers.net. This is offering me a 7-day free trial, but I don't understand why I would want a trial to keep finding my twin strangers.
Yeah. I don't know. Find my doppelganger free.
Have a look at that one.
See what this one is. We are fucking riddling our laptops with viruses as we speak and boring the shit out of people who are like, will they ever just stop looking for this and get on with the show? Nah, it sends me somewhere off.
Oh, I found her. Look, this is the girl from down the road. Neve is her name.
Huh?
I show you now. They're very, very similar, but I can tell which one is the Irish girl.
But
I know, but you can see it.
Oh, I saw her. Yeah, she's the ad for one of the sites.
Yeah, she's
one of the paid sites.
Yeah, exactly.
She's here. I'm looking at her right here now for another one. Twin Strangers.
Very like each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's in my head that the other girl might be Spanish or something.
Yeah, we'll see if they'll give me a freebie here because they're telling me to upload a thing, but then they're telling me to do a account setup. I'm not doing a account setup.
You tell them.
What's account setup? What do they need? Are they looking for money?
Your soul.
They don't seem to be looking for money. I'll try it later and we'll get back to you. But yeah, doppelgangers. Explain doppelgangers a little bit to me. Yeah. So this is something that's been going for forever.
For quite a while. So a doppelganger, it's a biologically unrelated lookalike or a double of a living person. And it's often portrayed as ghostly or paranormal phenomenon and kind of sometimes seen as a harbinger of bad luck.
Well, we know this is true. Because you have like a whole crew. There's Margot Robbie, your one Samara Weaving. What's
I got Alexa Bliss lately.
Alexa Bliss. There's also the other blonde one, fucking like Harley Quinn.
Presley. Lisa Presley is the other one that looks like Margot Robbie.
Okay, yeah, her.
Not Lisa Presley, the other one.
Liv Morgan.
Who?
Liv Morgan, the wrestler as well.
Oh.
The blonde little wrestler.
Yeah, I remember.
So there's like a whole crew of you that look alike. And apparently now Mila Kunis, Sophie Turner and a few others are jumping in on the bandwagon. So, but yeah, I always say, I mean, anytime a picture of views went up online, Margot Robbie's name came up pretty quickly. And lately, no, it's just Alexa Bliss. But I think that's because you have the pink in your hair now as well. And that kind of just brings it along.
Aww.
But
I have no problem with looking like Alexa Bliss.
Oh, come here.
Nice looking girl.
I can't think of anyone in particular on TV or anything like that I've seen and thought, oh, that looks like me.
No.
I mean, the best one I've ever gotten that I took as a massive compliment being a fan of the actual show was a co-worker that the day I started work telling me that I looked a lot like Ragnar from Vikings because I'm bald and I have a big beard
I can see that.
And I like that. I was happy with that, of course, but
yeah.
I will concede that I am that he's less good-looking brother.
You're good-looking.
Yeah, but I'm not fucking Travis Fimmel, anyway.
Causing car crashes all over the place. Oh, I don't know. Josh should get you into a pair of Calvin Klein, stick you on a billboard in Chile.
There will be car crashes for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, stop.
But when we were watching Saltburn,
yes,
you kept bringing this up, this doppelganger thing about the doppelganger passing the window and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it's got a kind of a bit of a paranormal twist to it as well, the whole doppelganger thing. It's not just a case of you finding someone who looks exactly
Oh
like
no,
you.
this
It's
is
not
like
just a case of there is like the chances are that your genetic makeup is slightly off. Somewhere there's someone that looks very, 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 very similar. That only has a tiny difference to you because I mean, it's like a ladder. I mean, with millions and millions and millions of people, there's bound to be someone there that looks some way similar to you.
Yeah.
So that's a fact. That's something we know that happens. You've pointed it out yourself that you know somebody who met somebody like that. I've seen pictures online of people who have met each other who are almost identical and have no relation to each other. But there is this kind of paranormal side to it as well of seeing. You tell a story in Mini Monsters about some woman seeing a guy and then
Percy Shelley.
But he's what was that?
Percy Shelley. That's
I did
the
make
guy
a note of
that's
that.
mentioned in
She's
in
not
Saltburn.
because she's Mary Shelley, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing to Frankenstein Mary Shelley, right? It's the same person, is it?
It's Mary Shelley. Yeah.
I was wondering that. See, I always say I was half
She's the
listening.
poet and she's the author then.
When Amy's doing these shows, I'm recording them and I'm messing around here as well and trying to take notes at the same time. So I'm only listening to keywords sometimes when we're in a panic.
Yeah.
And I heard Mary Shelley and I was like, no way, that's the same person.
That's Mary Shelley.
So she claims to have seen a doppelganger ghost thing.
That was taken from her letter. It's her maid that saw the doppelganger of Shelley. But Shelley was...
So the maid saw it.
The maid saw it. And I think he was up on like kind of a higher floor as well. Yeah.
Floor. So impossible to walk.
Yeah, exactly. And he was also in Italy at the time. And then he drowned in Italy.
See, it is unnerving. The thought of like just seeing somebody stroll by. What was that in? I've seen that in something else lately.
Saltburn. And he passes the window.
Well, I actually missed that. You said it to me afterwards.
It's
But
eerie.
there was something else I was watching and somebody walks past and I was like, well, what's the big deal about that? I was like, well, we're on the fucking second floor. And it was in Abigail as well. It was a big deal in Abigail as well of how did she get in to kill the witnesses, the rats, the snitches. Because they were on a high floor and no one came in the front door. But yeah.
She's a vampire.
Well, yeah, it's different. That's not a doppelganger.
That's not a doppelganger.
Don't
think doppelgangers drink your
stroll
blood.
on in your fucking stroll on past any window they want. But so are they like seen as a sign of death, of like letting you know somebody's?
Most of the time, yeah. There is another guy, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. So he saw his doppelganger. He was on this road one day, and this guy, identical to him, except wearing, I think it was like wine and gold clothing, was coming towards him on a horse and looked identical to him. And then a few years later, he was on that exact same road. But what he noticed was that he was wearing the exact same clothes that his doppelganger that he'd seen on that road was wearing. So that time when he saw him,
kind of thing.
No, it was his doppelganger. But I don't know. Time slips weren't mentioned in this story. But
if he's wearing the exact same clothes, standing in the exact same position, he saw an image of the future.
Yeah.
Not his doppelganger. He just saw him in the future.
But it's taken. Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying. It's taken as a doppelganger. Yeah, I know.
Do you remember the day?
That's one of the times that a doppelganger wasn't seen as a bad thing because he was after, like going away from his love or like, like an ex-girlfriend or something or whatever. But he was seen, like it was a thing of reassurance for him then when he realised, oh, that was me and I would like kind of like lived a happy life and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Do you remember the day we were in town and people don't know this person, but we got a friend named Bob. And we were walking down through the town, the two of us. It might have been you and me. I'm pretty sure it was you and me. It might have been me and Roach. Could have been when we were shopping for suits or something after his wedding. It might have been, but I'm pretty sure it was you. And we were walking down the road. And next thing, this guy is walking towards us. And it was with Roach. And we were like, holy shit, is that Bob? And I mean, like, to the point where I was about to start giving out to this guy for not telling me he was home from England.
Yeah.
Like, I was about to say, why the fuck didn't you tell us you were home?
Yeah.
And just as he got close enough to us, we could see that it wasn't him. And suddenly it was like, Bob, if you bought him off Wish.
I wonder, is that the same guy that I went to college with? Because there was a guy that I went to college with when Bob was there at the same time, and I mean, like, you would be able to tell the two apart. It was crazy.
Seconds away from laying into this guy for not telling me he was home.
Got myself knocked out.
Like, no.
Imagine, why didn't you tell me you were home?
Well, like, what the fuck, you motherfucker? Why didn't you tell us you were home? But yeah, it turned out it wasn't him, and I realised it just in time. I mean, just as he got close enough to me, I could tell that this guy was definitely 100% not Bob. There was just something like different about his face, but it was so close. I mean, fucking so close. I was about to fucking like get shitty about him not telling us he was home. But yeah. So that's fucking. It's a cool concept. I like the story, and I mean, there's not much we can talk about.
It makes me. Like, they give me the creeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you met somebody that was identical to you, you think that would freak you out?
Oh, if it was a real person, I could interact with them. Yeah, but I mean, like, there's this other guy, John Dunn. He was, like a physicist and stuff like that for Queen Elizabeth I. But he was away in some country, and his wife had a miscarriage. And the night that she miscarried, he saw her like walking through the room, like, and like her hair was down by her shoulders, and she was carrying a dead baby. So she thought like he saw this like 3 times, and next thing he said, on the 3rd time she stopped and looked at him and then disappeared.
Did she die?
No, the baby did, and she was fine. Well,
so it's kind of like a
forewarning, kind of like a But yeah, that's
maybe the baby's ghost using kind of form and.
I wonder, because it was a dead baby, so does that count as a ghost or a doppelganger?
I would say if it's a dead baby, it's a ghost. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe it formed the energy of its mother, because it was literally just after coming out of its mother, it would feel still attached. Like maybe the mother came along as part of, maybe it manifested the mother, but not so much the part of the mother, but it just kind of saw it as part of himself, like, so that's how it manifested the image of itself. I don't know.
True. He was a man that believed in kind of paranormal and stuff like that, so you know.
Our next subject was bothering the shit out of me, right?
Why?
Because I knew I had heard Will-O-the-Wisp somewhere, and it drove me fucking bananas, and I was convinced it was like, is it a nursery rhyme? Was it a cartoon? Where the fuck had I heard this thing?
Brave.
In
Brave. She follows Will-O-the-Wisp's little...
It's not where I heard it.
Will-O-the-Wisp.
She's thinking. It's Jeff Hardy.
Oh, Willow with the black and white and the umbrella.
It was Willow on TNA, but beforehand, when he started off on it, when he created the character in his own kind of indie backyard thing back in the day, it was Will-O-the-Wisp.
Will-O-the-Wisp. Yeah.
So, that's where I had heard it before, and I knew it was right. And I only thought about it, like, literally about 10 minutes before we came on doing this, before we started recording. And I was like, what was the name of his finisher when he was Willow? And I looked it up, and it turned out it was actually Will-O-the-Wisp was his name.
Okay.
Originally.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Cool.
That's where I had heard it before. Again, I don't know a whole lot about these things.
I always liked them as well.
Well, they're bad though, aren't they?
No, not always.
Are they not like guiding you off?
Yeah, sometimes they guide you off the side of cliffs, but other times you might get treasure.
So is it the latter?
It's you if you want to follow it, like, yeah.
So not as bad as some of the ones you've mentioned before. You've mentioned some that like resemble horses and stuff like that that'll take you for a ride, and they just bring you straight to the middle of the water and drown you.
I also like the sound of them as well, except for the drown egg.
Well, we were still debating what to do here, right? With the 2-parters, because we have we're gonna get into a 2-parter in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Being Ted Bundy. And the thing we were wondering was, should we be, because we have a backlog of like over 100 episodes of Mini Monsters that now technically won't be covered on Real Monsters because they've been done, and we won't be going back to them.
Because some of them are quite good.
There's some topics there we want to talk about, so that maybe this might be the last 2-parter, and the next time it'll just be one really long episode but instead of, you get that long episode, but to make up for not having a 4th episode, we will kind of take one of the old episodes, repost them, and then discuss them.
I'm confused.
That thing, kind of a Mini Monsters rewind.
So what? They don't get...
So instead of it being Monday, fucking...
Tuesday.
Doppelgangers, Tuesday, Will-O-the-Wisp, Thursday and Friday, Ted Bundy Part 1 and 2. It would be Ted Bundy Thursday, and then Friday, Mini Monsters Rewind. And you'll get an old episode of Mini Monsters reposted.
And none on Monday and Tuesday.
One of the ones from before Real Monsters were reformatted. And then we'll talk about that week briefly, along with everything else. Yeah. Now, this week we have Ted Bundy Part 1 and 2, so that won't be happening. No. So you will still have to only record 3 episodes, and I'll just be recycling an old episode.
I understand
so that we can discuss that old episode, which we never got to discuss. Because there is some classics back there. I mean, there's some great serial killers that I covered that I don't want to go missing. It's a pity we didn't actually think of it this week because we could have bought up Pedro, what's his second name? The Pedro Filo?
Yeah,
Pedro Filo.
Cupid, Peruvian.
The Dexter killer, essentially, who, I suppose we can mention him really quick before we get into Ted Bundy. He basically was a revenge killer. And I think it sounds more like the Crow than it does Dexter. So I don't know why he's not the Crow's killer, because it seems like what happened was his girlfriend and him were attacked, or his girlfriend might have been killed, I can't remember, but he went out for revenge and fucking killed a bunch of these people.
Good enough for him.
He went to prison, was seen as a hero in prison, and then released. But he was a vigilante killer.
So how come he goes to prison, but in those countries there's other serial killers that get away with like killing 300 kids?
Because they don't get away with it. They eventually get caught. That's how we know they killed 300
but they
kids.
still got to fucking kill them.
But they had very, very short sentences as well, and usually get back out, or, you know, Pedro Filo. Where are you, Pedro? The dude's gone missing. Am I spelling his name wrong?
Filous is how I spell Filo, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. Oh, this is killing me. Because I was gonna, I was almost certain it was Pedro Filo.
Pedro Filo. No, hang on now, Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. So you say I'm missing a H.
Filho. I was really wrong.
Okay. So what did he do? I love some of his names. Killer little Pedro. Killer Petey. Killer Petey. Pedrino Matador is my favorite though.
Daddy Matador? Pedrino?
Pedrino? No, he has you. Is that like a boss or something?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm terrible at
this. It is literally 100%. This is the fucking the Crow to the extreme.
Yeah, I can see
his pregnant girlfriend was murdered, and he went on a revenge thing. Sentenced to 71 murders, claiming to have killed 100 drug dealers, rapists, and murderers. He served 34 years in prison. As far as I know, he's a fucking YouTuber now.
He died in 2023.
Or he was a YouTuber up until then. But they call him the Brazilian Dexter, but I reckon this guy is more the Brazilian Crow, to be honest with you.
Oh, he was shot and killed by two men firing from a car in Mogi das Cruz.
Well, you'd have to assume people were looking for revenge. He was 68 at the time.
No suspects have been arrested.
Yeah, well, again, this is Brazil. And if you've killed over 100
he was Brazil, sorry.
You've killed over 100 fucking criminals, someone's bound to come back after you eventually.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing you have to, like, when you're dealing in the criminal world, once your life is under threat, once your life is forever under threat. There was a guy who, Christy Kinahan, from the Kinahan cartel.
Yeah.
That he suspected ratted on him for one of his first convictions for heroin. Mm. And Christy, I think, did 5 or 6 years in jail for that one. And that's where he started learning his different languages and business and all that, so that he will become this cartel fucking mega fucking criminal that he is now.
Yeah.
And your man got away with it, and he moved over to England, and he started working away there over in England. And eventually, after like years, 15 years or so, decided he was told it was safe enough to come back home.
Okay.
Moved back to Ireland, kept his head low, stayed quiet. Christy Kinahan found out about it, and then one day kept watching him, and one day when he went into the pub to have a quiet pint, watch a match, gunman came in and shot him down.
Jeez.
Wasn't expecting it anymore because it was, ancient history. But when it comes to criminals, there is no ancient history, and they are eventually going to fucking come back and get you, you know?
Yeah.
How do we get from Will O' the Wisp to that?
We started talking about the Dexter, Brazilian Dexter.
How did we get to the Brazilian Dexter? Oh, we were talking about bringing up old mini monsters and stuff like that, because there is piles there. But and that's it. We were talking about the Kelpies and all that stuff that we have to go through, because I said they kind of remind me of this. I think these guys are a little freaky, to be creepy, to be honest with you.
Oh, you see, when we were in primary school and we read a story in English, and it was about Will O' the Wisps, and it was a really cute story, and I've always thought that I'd have probably been killed by now if Will O' the Wisps are real.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it just seems like they're too nice and friendly looking to be safe.
The ones in Brave were safe-ish.
It's a Disney fucking movie, Amy.
It's not scary at times. I'm just saying.
I love the fact that they're called Hinky Punk, though. That sounds like the badass will-o'-the-wisps.
Yeah, the hinky punks sound like the bad
fucking
ones.
mohawk and a safety pin in its nose. Is there anything really?
Well, they have them all over the world.
Scientific explanations. I found that interesting.
Oh yeah, so that anything that decays gives off this as a phosphine, diazophosphane. No, not phosphane, and that can ignite then with the nitrogen in the air, and then that can cause little like flames. And then there's the theory of cold flames from gas as well, and that was actually proven.
What about fireflies and stuff like that?
Yeah, fireflies as well.
That has to have been like something.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's one of the theories.
You can see how like hundreds of years ago people would have seen a firefly and been like, "Oh, it's a will-o'-the-wisp." I was watching Paranormal Cotton Camera last night. You fell asleep.
I did, sorry.
And there was an Irish lady on it.
Ooh.
And she goes to graveyards, and really old graveyards. Like overgrown graveyards. And just has a look at them. She reads the graves and she talks about what she's seen around the place.
What's her name? What's her name, Jane?
Can't remember. She's from Wexford.
Don't know her.
And the first thing, she saw two things. Now, the second thing did look kind of legitimately creepy. But the first one, it literally just looked like a bird flying out of the thing. And she was like, I believe that was a fairy. And I was like, I believe you're a fucking fairy.
Yeah.
And then all the yes men heads, talking heads on Paranormal Cotton Camera was like,
they're like,
yes,
we believe in fairies.
Fairies are very common in Ireland. And it's like, they're very common stories in Ireland. But I'm telling you now, I've lived here 36 solid years. I have yet to see one.
But also just to point out that fairies to us originally were gods. Like it wasn't that they were fairies, like the fairies that people see.
The gods
now.
were
It's like
demoted
they were the gods,
to be fairies by the Christians to basically lower their status.
Yeah. So if you want me to believe that you've seen a fairy, it's going to have to be something like godlike.
You've seen fucking Tyrannus, one of these guys. But afterwards, alright, she's looking at a kind of Celtic cross headstone. Yeah. And
where was? Do you know what graveyard this was?
It was in Wicklow somewhere. Wexford somewhere, sorry. And over by another headstone, you can see something hide behind the headstone. And she didn't see it at the time. And she went over to the headstone and started reading off the headstone and stuff like that. And then, of course, all the talking heads started saying about how when you read the headstone, it's giving power. You're saying the thing's name and it's giving it power. And that's why it was around. But it already showed up before she had read the headstone. But anyway. See, that's the thing. I like Paranormal Cotton Camera because you and me will sit there and we'll make our own minds up. What we think is real and what we think is fake by reactions and stuff like that. Yeah. But there's so many talking heads on it that are just like, yes, this is real. Everything's real. No one is there debating like, well, there's a possibility this one could be this could be that. It's all about
even when you think that finally there's some people, especially the guy that he studies Bigfoot, and sometimes you think that his comments are going to start off with, oh my god, is he actually going to disagree with them? But no, he always turns then to kind of like agreeing with them.
See, that's why when we had I said, I'd be selective over who I would talk, because it's fine. We said recently that the hardest thing to do when we were talking about the Warrens was that it's impossible to have a conversation with someone who's a full skeptic. Yeah. But at the same time, it is impossible to have a conversation with someone who is a 100% cannot be shaken, cannot be fucking spoken out a believer, like a born again Christian or something like that. Yeah. But there's some of these ghost hunters and stuff like that who would be that mentality. That's why I enjoy talking to PJ. That's why I enjoy talking to people at Puka Vogue. Oh yeah. There was a back and forth, and there was no bullshit about it. And you could ask him straight out, and he'd say, "Well, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, I'm on these investigations. Fuck all happens. It's a lot of waiting. You know, it's a lot of scouring through video trying to find something." And, you know, when we were having a conversation, when I had stuff to back up what I was saying, they were like, well, that sounds fucking reasonable, and I'm going to research that more. So they were always like, that's a good conversation, good people to talk to. But, you know, I'm surprised the woman on Paranormal Cotton Camera didn't go straight to this will-o'-the-wisp since we have it.
But nothing glowed there. Did anything glow?
No, it was actually like a shadow. So, to be honest.
You see, that's what defines the will-o'-the-wisp, is the glow, is the light. That's why they're like, even the Scottish ones, they recede you know, as you get to them. So it'll be like a row of lights, and then like you get to one, and the next one will go. But there's some scientists.
That really sounds like fireflies.
I know, yeah. But some scientists actually proved what it was, and again, it was the whole thing of like cold flames. He went out into the middle of the lake, and he saw the cold flames. It was caused by gas, like, you know, like rise up. Okay. So he went and he tried to study it. So he went over, but every time he went over, he disturbed the water, so the flame went. So he's like, this has to be what it is. Like every time you get closer to it, it disturbs the gas, so it goes on and on. And it seems logical.
Yeah, that sucks though, doesn't it? When you get a logical answer to something fun.
But just because there's a logical answer to something fun doesn't mean that it's the right answer, or that the same phenomenon is happening in another way that can't be explained.
Well, you said this happens all over the fucking world. America's, Asia, Europe, Britain, what's Oceania?
Oceania, that's Australia, New Zealand and all that jazz.
I didn't know that.
That's the other continent.
I really didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I would have just said Australia was a continent.
I think that's accepted as well. Australia, you see, then you're leaving out the poor New Zealanders.
I kind of just count them in. Well, I mean, America is called America. It's not.
As one, would you not call it the Americas?
I hate when people call it the Americas.
But that's kind of like all one, like north, south.
Oh yeah, look at that right here. Americas, Asia, Europe, Britain. I still hate that.
I know, yeah.
Is America north and south one continent, or are they two different continents?
I think there's 5 rings on the Olympic flag, so I presume they're counted as... I don't know. Let me count.
Europe, Asia, Russia, Australia,
America.
Oh,
where's Africa?
Africa.
How many rings are on the flag?
How many continents are we? Are dumb. Don't listen to this. Move on.
Cut this out.
Yeah, find yourself a smarter podcast, because we're only going to make you dumber. You don't even know how many
what's it called again? The Olympics. We just watched the Eurovision. I nearly typed in how many rings are on the Eurovision. Yeah, there's 6 rings. No, sorry, there's 5 rings.
You couldn't have just looked up what were the continents. You had to look up the Olympic flag, and now we still got to work out what continents are what. Right, Asia, Africa, Europe, the Americas, or is Eurasia one?
What?
No.
Right, well, this is telling me there's 7. Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. But you need to take out... We were. But then on the Olympic flag, you got to take out Antarctica, and I think you may...
Well, fucking no shit. Penguins of Madagascar coming out to fucking play a few rounds.
And then you got to put North America and South America together.
That would make sense. Say be coming from Madagascar. I am all over the shop. Let's just go on to Ted Bundy. There's
penguins in Antarctica as well.
Huh? I know, but I said are the penguins of Madagascar coming? Well, clearly they would not be coming from Antarctica.
They're the Madagascar penguins.
Well, they weren't originally from Madagascar. Have you not watched the movie?
I think Australia have penguins. There's somewhere warm that has penguins.
Right, so our big one this week was the 2-parter of Ted Bundy. And the reason Ted was picked was because we always planned to do him with Dexter.
And he had a dark passenger.
Yeah. What did he call his?
Entity.
The Entity. Because BTK called his Factor X.
Oh my god, Dexter sounds way more cooler. At least, a bit cheesy still. But even though when I think of his dark passenger, I automatically think of his terrible wig.
Oh yeah, from fucking when he is like supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah.
But I chose Ted Bundy for... You're going to go through the story, but I chose Ted Bundy for Dexter because of the idea of, the hiding in plain sight, the kind of being... Because it seems like Bundy maybe had the same idea as what Dexter's code was. Not in obviously killing the people that deserve to kill, but in the hiding, blending in, being like the others. Kind of sort of like BTK, And I know BTK took a lot of influence from Bundy. I think he was a bit of a Bundy fanboy, to be honest. I know we covered Danny Rawlings ages ago, and he was a big Bundy fanboy to the point where his berserker mode happened in Florida as well. Yeah. Remember, he tried to do the Bundy kind of trail, the Bundy area, but there was some reason something went off, and he had to move on, and he ended up still in Florida, still in the college, but not in the same college as he had hoped.
Yep. Okay. Will I crack on?
Well, yeah, I would think that. I know usually we say, listen to Mini Monsters, and you get the story, then we'll discuss it. The problem here is...
It's a very long story.
And I'll forget stuff. And then we're jumping in and out. or part 2 story. So I was just thinking we'll kind of run through his story. You don't have to tell everything, the important stuff. And I can jump in and out with bits and pieces that I know about, that I want to discuss and talk about. Okay. I did look up straight off the bat. I went on to Murderpedia and I opened up all the galleries. There's a few galleries there for photos. Ooh. I was curious. No, there's nothing big there. There's Ted Bundy in 1950 with a snowman as a child. He's just sitting there smiling. Ted Bundy putting up his Christmas tree in 1953 as a kid. Ted Bundy and his stepfather in 1953. They're just regular family photos. For the most part, his school photo. Him dicking around. Just being normal. To be honest with him, this is the creeper one. Him with, you know, how he was kind of stepdad to that kid. Yeah. To his girlfriend's kid. Him just hanging, and it's all just him being normal. Hey, I just want to see, is there any crime scene photos? And the big thing they say here about Ted, and we'll get into it when I'm looking through his pictures here, was his ability to be like a chameleon.
To be different, yeah.
Slight changes to his appearance. If you look at if you're on Murderpedia, you go to the second gallery, and there are just shitload of profile pictures of Ted Bundy. If there was Facebook in the era, this would have been his profile picture. Yeah. And every picture, he looks different. Every picture. And his hair is just slightly different than every picture. A little longer, a little shorter. His expression's a little different. Maybe a little facial hair, and he'll keep changing that. He had a fake mole that he put on.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. Not hilarious, but you know.
But that was enough, like, you know?
Yeah, enough, yeah.
And that's what's fucking crazy about it. Now, thankfully, I don't think there is a whole pile of pictures of the actual crime scenes, because they were probably well decayed and fucked over by the time they got them.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I think the most you might get is pictures of the girl's injuries.
Who's this one? Is she one of the survivors?
Durant?
Carol Durant, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was good looking. Sure, she still is. She's still alive?
I don't know.
She's not one of the dead ones, no. No, she's here sitting in court. Yeah.
No, she's the girl with the handcuffs, wasn't it?
Oh, fair play to her.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen her in documentaries lately.
Have you?
Yeah. She just looks like your average mom.
Yeah.
No offense. If she ever hears this. Okay, we do have kind of some pictures here of the raid on his house, which is kind of cool. And the shackles on it. Oh, this is fucking mental. Anyway, do you want to talk a bit about Ted? Mm-hmm. Go for it while I look through all these pictures.
Theodore Robert Bundy, born Theodore Robert Cowell. He was born on November 24th, 1946, and he's known as Ted Bundy, and he was an American serial killer. He murdered numerous young women across the United States between 1974 and 1978. He twice escaped from prison before his final apprehension in February 1978. After more than a decade of vigorous denials, he eventually confessed to 30 murders, although the actual total even of victims is unknown. Estimates range from 29 to over 100, and the general estimate would be about 35. Typically, Bundy would bludgeon his victims, then strangle them to death, and he also engaged in rape and necrophilia.
What do you think, numbers-wise? What would you say? Do you think they're right in saying it's close to 100, or do you think it's 35?
I think the panic on him when he confessed, or do you know what, when he started giving more information, like minutes before he was executed, that if there was more, if he had more to give, he'd just start babbling, and he would have, you know, I'd say he was clutching at straws. If it was me, I'd be like, I kill this person, I kill that person, I kill this person, I kill that person. I'll tell you where they're all buried. Just don't kill me.
Well, he did try that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. If there was more, he'd have started talking more.
When you think of the documentary that we watched and how slow he was to hand that information over because he didn't want to admit to anything. Mm. I mean, you and me were both saying, like, we never really understood the fear of Ted Bundy until we listened to him whispering into a fucking microphone about what he had done. Yeah. And suddenly it was like, this is fucking chilling. Like,
yeah. You know? So Bundy was born at the Elizabeth Lund Home for Unwed Mothers in Burlington, Vermont, to Eleanor Louise Cowell. While the identity of his father remains a mystery, Bundy's birth certificate lists a Lloyd Marshall, and he was born in 1916. Although Bundy's mother would later tell of being seduced by a war veteran named Jack Worthington. That sounds like a made-up name. If in that time period,
Jack Worthington.
Oh yeah, that's even better.
What do you think of Bundy's mom? You've seen her in the documentaries as well. And she seems like such a nice little old lady.
I don't know, but now I can't get the toasted London guy out of my head as Jack Worthington.
Matt Berry is Jack Worthington.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the mother.
She's that little old lady that's really seems really sweet and really nice, but at the same time could like turn on you and fucking be vicious. Well, I feel bad for again that documentary where they said they went to her and they played her the tapes of Ted admitting to everything.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like they just kind of blanked it, and it was like, okay, who wants a cup of tea? Are you staying for dinner? Kind of thing. And
what would you do? I'd be like, I'm not talking about. Why would?
I know exactly what you would do. You would bawl your fucking eyes out listening to it. And then I'd get upset and I'd grab the people who were playing us the tape. I'd probably break the tape and then tell them to get the fuck out of my house.
I think I'd tell them to get the fuck out of my house and then cry. I don't think I'd want to cry in front of them.
I don't think I'd leave them into the house to start with.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. I didn't understand that part. I wouldn't be. Yeah.
You know, I just it's done now. All the bad stuff's over, and you know,
I think especially as a parent, there are certain things that you could find out. You could be fine that this happened, but you wouldn't. Not fine, but like it happened. You can move past it, but you wouldn't want to know the details. Do you know what I mean? Now, I think that murder is a bit extreme, but I also think that
Hammer's dad seemed to take it the best. Not take it the best, but handle it the best.
He was very calm, like a matter of fact about it.
Well, I think the way he dealt with it and the way he kind of dealt with Jeff himself, it seems, from what I've read and what I've seen, it seems kind of like he... No, not like that. It seems like after he was caught, it was kind of like, this is it now. You've got to kind of pay for your crimes, but let's kind of use you as a cautionary tale. They do interviews together and they talk about his crimes and they talk about what led to it so that it might, you know,
help other people.
From what I could tell, I'm not understanding, and I know he did try and release a book and it got stopped by the families, or else all the proceeds went to the family or something like that.
Well, I think it says a lot about the thinking between the two of them when he was able to say that, like, you know, I shouldn't be let out, like.
Well, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer was sick.
He knew that as well. Like, he knew what was going to happen if he was let out, and he knew that the best thing was for him to stay behind bars, like.
Well, obviously wasn't. He was killed there.
Well, he knew the best thing for everybody else was for him to stay behind bars.
Anyway, back to Bundy.
Bundy.
One of the other big ones.
Bundy's family did not believe the story about Jack Worthington, however, and expressed suspicion about Louise's violent, abusive father, Samuel Cowell. To avoid social stigma, Bundy's maternal grandparents, Samuel and Eleanor Cowell, claimed him as their son, and in taking their last name, he became Theodore Robert Cowell.
But this is one of the biggest myths when it comes to Bundy, because there's absolutely no proof whatsoever that his grandfather might be his father.
Does he have a daughter or a son?
Who?
It's a daughter.
Oh, Bundy is a daughter.
So I'm wondering how they could they see in the DNA line if, you know, there was.
There is no sight of her whatsoever. I'm telling you.
I'd have disappeared after that. I'd have changed my name.
Same with Gacy's kids. I know one of BTK's kids has off the radar completely. The other one has released a book and stuff, and there's talks and stuff. But no, there you. I don't think anybody knows who
the father is.
This or the daughter of Ted Bundy is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But, yeah, there's, and that was pointed out in the documentary. That is a rumor that got started, but it's possible. But the rumor is that his grandfather is actually his father, and that there was a bit of incestual rape going on there. But there is no evidence of that.
Okay,
it's just a story that's went around.
Regardless of who his father was, he grew up believing that his mother was his older sister. And Bundy biographer Stephen Michaud, if I'm saying that right, and Hugh Ainsworth wrote that he learned Louise was actually his mother while he was in high school. True crime writer Anne Rule, who knew Bundy personally, states that it was around 1969, shortly following a traumatic breakup with his college girlfriend.
Traumatic breakup? Will you fuck off?
What?
What's a traumatic breakup? Really? I mean, who in college hasn't had a traumatic breakup? Fuck off, you dickhead. You got plenty of time to get the fuck over and get on with it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, okay. I think.
Poor Ted, I had a traumatic breakup. Listen to some fucking sad song, stay in bed for a couple of days and get the fuck over it, you fucking pussy. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
But these are his excuses for killing. This is one of his main excuses for killing.
But he didn't say there that was an excuse for killing. He just said that he happened to learn that his mother was his...
While he was going through a traumatic breakup. And it was that traumatic breakup that's supposed to set everything off and kick things going. Along with finding out that his mother or his sister is his mother. Jack Nicholson found out his sister was his mom too. And he's a super famous fucking film star. So, fuck you, Ted.
Okay.
Could have went that way about it.
There's some singer as well.
You'd be in your fucking 90s now, still surrounded by women in their 20s doing whatever you want to.
Who, Bundy?
Well, I mean, that's what Jack Nicholson is doing.
He hasn't been seen. Well, he was seen for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I'm signing autographs. Probably getting phone numbers. Jack Nicholson won't stop playing until he is dead.
Really? So for the first few years of his life...
See him, sorry to interrupt. You've seen him like flirting with fucking Jennifer Lawrence on the fucking red carpet and stuff.
I fucking flirt with Jack Nicholson on the red carpet.
No, he came up and started flirting with her.
I saw it, but she clearly flirted back. For the first few years of his... Rightly so as well. That sounded like I was shaming. Rightly so. For the first few years of his life, Bundy and his mother lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In 1950, Bundy and his mother, whom he still believed was his sister, moved to live with relatives in Tacoma, Washington.
Lucky they got out of there before the 60s and the trioxins leak.
Oh, absolutely. Or else we'd have a zombie Bundy. Here, Louise Cowell had her son's surname changed from Cowell to Nelson.
This kid has had more fucking names.
That's why he grew up to be the master of disguise.
Why don't you just do it like all the other American fucking single moms do? This is your uncle. Your Uncle Nelson, Uncle Bundy, Uncle.
In 1951, 1 year after their move, Louise Cowell met Johnny Culpepper Bundy at an adult singles night held at Tacoma's First Methodist Church. In May of that year, the couple were married, and soon after, Johnny Bundy adopted Ted, legally changing his last name to Bundy, to Ted. Ted.
Do you know what's worse than a singles night? A singles night, yeah, organised by the church.
Depends what the church is and what they allow.
Church is Satan. Hosted by Anton LaVey.
We're going to get a few unfollows. Johnny and Louise Bundy had more children, whom the young Bundy spent much of his time babysitting. Johnny Bundy tried to include his stepson in camping trips and other father-son activities, but the boy remained emotionally detached from his stepfather. Bundy was a good student at Woodrow Wilson High School in Tacoma and was active in a local Methodist church, serving as vice president of the Methodist Youth Fellowship. He was involved with the local troop of the Boy Scouts of America.
I'm going to lay off the Catholics this week and the Protestants this week. Well, I suppose these Methodists are forms of Protestants, aren't they? But an awful lot of serial killers come through your church. Again, BTK, Bundy, Danny Rowling.
Oh, that was a Methodist. Or was he a Baptist? Methodist. I don't know. Who's one of them? I think it was a Methodist.
I thought they're not all hardcore. Is that not like Righteous Gemstones kind of style religion?
Oh, I never saw him in church.
Huh?
He didn't go to... not that I know of. I don't know.
Did he try any dirty stuff with you? That would answer the question right there.
No, because he wore the long johns the whole time. Socially, Bundy remained shy and introverted throughout his high school and early college years. He would later say that he hit a wall in high school and that he was unable to understand social behaviour, stunting his social development. He maintained a facade of social activity, but he had no natural sense of how to get along with other people, saying, "I didn't know what made things tick. I didn't know what made people want to be friends. I didn't know what made people attractive to one another. I didn't know what underlay social interactions."
Does that not make him all the more fucking terrifying?
Because he's very like fucking Michael Myers.
But it sounds like he's fucking Sheldon from fucking the Big Bang Theory.
Except Sheldon had a good upbringing.
But it's like when Bundy is described later, he's described as being charming. He's described as being, the life of the party, the person everybody looks to in the room. But yet he doesn't understand how any of these mechanics work. So he had to figure that out for himself.
He had to learn. He had to sit down. He had to study people around him.
Like what we talked about in Dexter. Yeah. He had to learn how to blend in. He had to learn how to become one of the people.
Probably would have been an amazing actor.
I mean, it really is kind of like that saying, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, it is literally that when it comes to the likes of Bundy and in Dexter. It's a serial killer hiding in plain. BTK, another one. These people who are living amongst you, who have this double fucking life and who are just waiting to fucking snatch you up.
But I've said to you before that Ted Bundy was like, you know, like our generation's like, well, especially girls, that was our first horror stories. And if you don't look after yourself, this is what. But like, I remember my mom using that phrase with Ted Bundy, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, do you know,
but it's true. I mean, especially at that time, because you were a lot of. Yeah. You had a lot of girls hitching and stuff like that for eyes and stuff like that. And
Bundy and what's his name?
But that was as common as fucking dirt around here as well. Ireland was a big place for people hitchhiking around the place. I mean, look, that's how Larry Murphy picked up. But that's what I'm saying.
Murphy's was the other one that we used to. I think he's in Spain now. My mom was saying.
Eventually, this guy's going to get proven to be completely innocent and going to sue us for fucking defamation of character because we're.
There are many Larry Murphys in Ireland.
We've just given up on being the vanishing triangle victim. It's just like Larry Murphy every time. It was him. What was I going to say? But yeah, it's just, I think that is a frightening aspect of Ted Bundy, is the fact that he was able to just
blend in,
learn to blend in, to be so confused by the whole situation, not know how to do it, and then suddenly, bang, he's the life and soul of the party.
True. Years later, while on Florida's death row, Bundy would describe a part of himself that from a young age was fascinated by images of sex and violence. In early prison interviews, Bundy called this part of himself the entity. While in his teens, Bundy would look through libraries for detective magazines and books on crimes, focusing on stories that described sexual violence and featured pictures of dead bodies and violent sexuality. But before he was even out of high school, Bundy was a compulsive thief, a shoplifter, and on his way to becoming an amateur criminal. To support his love of skiing, Bundy stole skis and equipment and forged ski lift tickets. He was arrested twice as a juvenile, although these records were later expunged.
Don't know why this is always such a big part of Bundy's stories, that he likes skiing.
It always surprised me that he was a skier. Vermont is a kind of sunny place.
But I think it was a case of it's what the upper class did, and he wanted to be in that upper level, you know. Aye. But I suppose it became a bit more of a. It was focused on because of him trying to hide in the Aspen Mountains. It was focused on because he had dumping grounds up there, which meant he obviously killed up there. He might have killed up there as well, even though I don't think.
Skiing made for a quick getaway.
Oh God.
In 1965, Bundy graduated from Woodrow Wilson High, awarded a scholarship by the University of Puget Sound, UPS. He began that fall taking courses in psychology and Oriental Studies. I could pronounce that university when I recorded this.
What's Oriental Studies?
I presume you might call them Asian Studies now. Okay. Yeah. After 2 semesters at UPS, he decided to transfer even to Seattle's University of Washington. While a university student, Bundy worked as a grocery bagger and a shelf stocker at Seattle Safeway store on Queen Anne Hill, as well as other odd jobs. As part of his course of studies in psychology, he would later work as a night shift volunteer on Seattle's suicide hotline, a suicide crisis center that served the greater Seattle metropolitan and suburban area.
He was supposed to be pretty good at this job. Like he was, I mean, like that woman you're about to start talking about now, Anne Rule, is it?
Anne Rule, yeah, she wrote the book on him.
And she even said like he was good at his job and he seemed caring and he seemed to, and that he'd take it personally if something bad happened. And he was, he really, really, really tried to save these people on a suicide hotline.
Yeah.
And then he'd tell Anne to be careful going to her car because there was creeps around. He'd walk her to the car and all this kind of shit. And it was nothing but a gentleman to her. And it's.
So Anne was actually a former Seattle policewoman and she was a fledgling crime writer at the time. Yeah, and she wrote the book of Bundy, the autobiography even of Bundy and his crimes called "The Stranger Beside Me."
There's a documentary for that now as
well. Oh, there is. That's right. Yeah. He began a relationship with fellow university student Stephanie Brooks, which was a pseudonym who he met while he enrolled at UW in 1967.
Fellows in more fucking colleges than I can count, jumping from one to the other.
Following her 1968 graduation and return to her family home in California, she ended the relationship, fed up with what she described as Bundy's immaturity and lack of ambition.
And this was the traumatic breakup.
Oh, yeah. Rule states that around this time, Bundy decided to pay a visit to his birthplace, Burlington, Vermont. According to Rule, there he visited the local records clerk and finally uncovered the truth of his parentage. After his discovery, Bundy became more focused and a dominant person. In 1968, he managed the Seattle office of Nelson Rockefeller's presidential campaign and attended the 1968 Republican Convention in Miami, even Florida, as a Rockefeller supporter. He re-enrolled at UW, this time with a major in psychology. He became an honors student and was well liked by his professors, and in 1969 he started dating Elizabeth Klopfer, a divorced secretary with a daughter who fell deeply in love with him.
And they say like most successful businessmen and politicians are sociopaths. So I think what killed him, when you hear him talk and stuff like that, he would have had the potential to be like a good solicitor and a good, probably a good politician.
During his death sentence that he would have had
most likely, with the road he was going down with helping politicians, he probably would have become a politician.
Probably.
The problem I think here is though that whereas other sociopaths, I suppose maybe they're driven by the way they're treating the people around them. He has, because it's strange because sociopaths generally don't have an association with people. You know, they can't build bonds. Like he said himself, he doesn't know how friends work, but still this need for sexual attachment. This need to be, because I mean, like the thing about Bundy is, and we'll get into it later, was he used to play with these bodies. He used to put makeup on them. He wanted to control them and all this kind of stuff, but he still needed them and he still needed that interaction. So was he really a sociopath? Does that work that way, or is that a psychopath then? I don't know.
Psychopath.
Have a quick look at that order.
Bundy graduated in 1972 from UW with a degree in psychology. Soon afterward, he went again to work for the state Republican Party, which included a close relationship with Governor Daniel J. Evans. During the campaign, Bundy followed Evans' Democratic opponent around the state, recording his speeches and reporting back to Evans personally. A minor scandal later followed when the Democrats found out about Bundy, who had been posing as a college student. In the fall of 1973, Bundy enrolled in the law school at the University of Utah, but he did poorly. He began skipping classes and finally dropped out in the spring of 1974.
Okay, so the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, there isn't much. A sociopath actually does have a conscience. A weak one, but does have one.
Fair.
But they will often justify something they know to be wrong. By contrast,
I know lots of sociopaths.
By contrast, psychopaths will believe that their actions are justified and feel absolutely no remorse for what they're doing.
Okay, yeah. While on a business trip to California in the summer of 1973, Bundy came back into his ex-girlfriend Stephanie Brooks' life with a new look and attitude, this time as a serious, dedicated professional who had been accepted to law school. Bundy continued to date Klopfer as well, and neither woman was aware that the other existed. He courted Brooks throughout the rest of the year, and she accepted his marriage proposal. 2 weeks later, however, shortly after New Year's 1974, he unceremoniously dumped her and refused to return her phone calls. I know. Yeah. A few weeks after this breakup, Bundy then began a murderous rampage in Washington state.
How does that set him off, though? I can understand, in some way, as much as I slagged that off, I can understand how her breaking up with him would set something off. But him breaking up with her, do you think that it was just that all of his craziness was focused on one-upping this woman? And then once he had achieved his goal, it was like, what do I do with this leftover crazy? You know, what am I supposed to do? And then he started just, he's murdering and raping.
Maybe he broke up with her, was fine about it, and she wouldn't stop calling him, and that's what cracked.
I don't think that's what happened.
No one knows exactly where and when Bundy began killing. Many Bundy experts, including Rule and former King County Detective Robert D. Keppel, believe that Bundy may have started killing as far back as his early teens.
15, I think they say that there's a possibility he killed the child.
14.
14,
yeah. That was Anne-Marie Burr, an 8-year-old girl from Tacoma who vanished from her home in 1961 when Bundy was 14 years old, although Bundy always denied killing her.
But see, they say then as well, like, that a lot of serial killers will deny, they'll deny...
The really shitty ones?
Yeah. ones they're embarrassed about. And sometimes that'll be killing a child or one that they bungled a bit. That they fucked up a bit. Like I know BTK wasn't exactly proud of his second attempt. You know the one where he's at home waiting for the girl to come home, but the girl comes home with her brother.
Oh, yeah.
And things just go completely tits up for him, and he shoots the brother twice, and the brother still ends up running out into the road screaming.
Yeah.
So he never really liked taking credit. He took credit for it in the end, but he didn't like taking credit for it because it was, a fuck up.
Yeah.
And I think with Bundy here, it wasn't so much that it was a fuck up, it was more of embarrassed that it was a child. Which is funny because if this was his first kill, then he kind of bookends his career with child murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day before his execution, Bundy told his lawyer that he made his first attempt to kidnap a woman in 1969 and implied that he committed his first actual murder sometime in 1972. At one point in his death row confessions with Keppel, Bundy said that he committed his first murder in 1972. In 1973, one of Bundy's Republican Party friends saw a pair of handcuffs in the back of Bundy's Volkswagen. He was for many years a suspect in the December 1973 murder of Kathy Devine in Washington State, but DNA analysis led to another man's arrest and conviction for that crime in 2002. Bundy's earliest known identified murders were committed in 1974 when he was 27. Shortly after midnight on January 4th, 1974, Bundy entered the basement bedroom of 18-year-old Joni Lenz, also a pseudonym, a dancer and student at UW. Bundy bludgeoned her with a metal rod from the bed frame while she slept and sexually assaulted her with a speculum.
What's a speculum?
A speculum is, do you know, like the little duck thing? Do you know when
opening
a vagina?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they have in the neighborhood.
What was she doing with one of them in her room?
Bundy probably brought it with him.
That's a really, really sad story because she was like an aspiring dancer. Like they reckon she was going to be like a super professional fucking dancer, and it ended her career because she had no more. Is it equilibrium?
Well, she
was constantly off balance,
and
constantly off balance and stuff like that, so she could never dance again.
She was found the next morning, like in a coma, lying in a pool of her own blood. So I mean, yeah. Bundy's next victim was Linda Ann Healy, another UW student and his cousin's roommate. And in the early hours of February the 1st, 1974, Bundy broke into Healy's room, knocked her unconscious, dressed her in jeans and a shirt, wrapped her in a bedsheet and carried her away. Co-eds began disappearing at a rate of roughly one a month. On March the 12th, 1974, in Olympia, Bundy kidnapped and murdered Donna Gail Manson, a 19-year-old student at the Evergreen State College. On April 17th, 1974, Susan Rancourt disappeared from the campus of Central Washington State College in Ellensburg. Later, 2 different CWSC co-eds would recount meeting a man with his arm in a cast, one that night and one 3 nights earlier, who asked for their help to carry a load of books to his Volkswagen Beetle.
This is all terrifying in a sense of, number one, when you're asleep in bed, you think like you're safe, and to be woken by someone inside there with you, like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Ramirez was known for doing that. I think BTK did it to 1 or 2 people, and it's terrifying, to be beaten awake like that.
Absolutely,
and that's why we have like 5 big, huge Rottweilers inside our doors who we constantly keep hungry. We only feed them like drops of human blood before we go to bed, give them the taste. And we have like those laser beams going everywhere
throughout the house.
Yeah, but they're not like triple arm laser beams.
They'll
really
cut you in half.
Do you ever see in like Resident Evil that first one when the laser beams go through the hallway and the person just cuts into slices? That's what happens if you come through our house while we're in bed at night.
So
just
enter at your own risk.
The dogs have to wear laser-proof jackets just to get through the house.
Shit, didn't think of the dogs. Next was...
That's what my house would be like if I lived in America. I'm telling you now.
Absolutely. My house
like
just wouldn't be in America.
And that's another thing that like really fucking terrifies me, because I've heard of it happening in Ireland. Of like, there's times where you would just tell me you're going down to the shop or going down to the chemist in the village. And if you're gone longer than a half an hour, I'm starting to look at the clock and going, is she okay?
Sometimes I like to dawdle though.
Well, that doesn't bother me. Of course, you have every right to fucking do whatever the fuck you want and go wherever the fuck you want. But
damn right, fucking.
Because of scumbags like Ted Bundy and scumbags, there was one case of it up in Dublin only a few years back. Remember your man just randomly grabbed him. He never had any big record. Randomly grabbed some woman off the street, and there was a big shooting. Then the cops ended up shooting him in an industrial estate, but he'd already killed the girl. And that kind of shit, that terrifies me. That you just go to the shop one day and someone grabs you, do you know?
I know. Next was Kathy Parks, last seen on the campus of Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon on May 6, 1974. Brenda Ball was never seen again after leaving the Flame Tavern in Burien, I'm saying that right, on June 1st, 1974. Bundy then murdered Georgianne Hawkins, a student at UW and a member of Kappa Alpha Theta, an on-campus sorority. In the early morning hours of June the 11th, 1974, she walked through an alley from her boyfriend's dormitory residence to her sorority house, and she was never seen again. Witnesses later reported seeing a man with a leg cast struggling to carry a briefcase in the area on that night, and one co-ed reported that the man had asked her for help in carrying the briefcase to his car, a Volkswagen Beetle.
Is it easy just to buy the plaster for casts?
Oh yeah,
I've seen a medical supply store before, like, but did the cops never think to be like, should we not start going around and asking the medical supply stores if somebody who they know is not a doctor or a nurse is coming in here buying fucking plaster?
But Josh, you can get it in art supplies. It's literally, back then it would be in the plaster Paris. You put it on the water, you wrap it around. You put it in the water, you wrap it around. It would harden up. So all you have to do is you buy a few strips of that, and I think you put Vaseline on underneath, and then you can take a slip it on. Yeah. So Bundy's Washington killing spree culminated on July the 14th in 1974 with the daytime abduction of Janice Ott and Denise Naslund from Lake Sammamish State Park in Issaquah. That day, 8 different people told the police about the handsome young man with his left arm in a sling who called himself Ted. 5 of them were women whom Ted asked for help unloading a sailboat from his Beetle.
And this is the terrifying one from the fucking movie. Do you know the old Ted Bundy movie where because he left, they were both alive at the same time. He killed one in front of the other.
Oh yeah.
And then teased them and messed with them and then killed the other one. And then went back and forth for days putting on fucking makeup on them and talking to them and having sex with them. And apparently there's just a point where they get the putrefaction takes place and they're not human enough.
They're going to fall apart.
Yeah. They don't resemble a human enough for him to do what they want to do with him anymore. So now they need a new victim. But these two in particular, he played with these two both before they died and after.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a disturbing scene, to be honest. In that movie, that was the one scene I did not like. That's the famous scene where he's like, I'm the judge, jury, and executor, all this kind of shit. Now, no one knows what he actually fucking said inside there.
Yeah,
but the fact of the matter was,
yeah.
He killed one before the other, so you know he was fucking enjoying it and teasing the person and fucking getting every bit of fear out of him before he finished them as well.
Exactly. So soon there was flyers were up all over the place for in the Seattle area for these 2 girls. And after seeing the police sketch and description of the Lake Sammamish suspect in both of the local newspapers and on television news reports, Bundy's girlfriend, one of his psychology professors at UW, and former co-worker Anne Rule all reported him as a possible suspect.
I found that one funny because I thought Anne Rule said that she didn't believe it for ages.
If you're seeing kind of picture proof. The police, receiving up to 200 tips per day, did not pay any special attention on a tip about a clean-cut law student. The fragmented remains of Ott and Naslund were discovered on September the 7th, 1972. Sounded like the BFG. On September the 7th, 1974, off Interstate 90 near Issaquah, 1 mile from the park. Found along with the woman's remains was an extra femur bone and vertebrae, which Bundy would identify as that of Georgianne Hawkins shortly before his execution. Between March 1st and March 3rd, 1975, the skulls and jawbones of Healy, Rancourt, Parks and Ball were all found on Taylor Mountain just east of Issaquah. Years later, Bundy claimed that he had also dumped Donna Manson's body there, but no trace of her was ever found. And
do you think their skeletal remains are there because of animals and the weather, or is that how quick somebody will turn to a skeleton? I have no idea. How long does it take to go from dead to skeleton?
It depends on how they like. If you're buried, if you're left out in the open, weather conditions. Let me have there is a general time frame. Let me have a look. A year though. Well, that's not a year.
And again, out in the open where the animals are going to be gnawing away at those bones.
Were they buried? Did they have to exhume them when they went to the mountain, or were they left out in the open?
I have not.
Because I would assume if they were left out in the open, they wouldn't be found.
Well, if they're saying they're finding a femur, a spare femur thrown in there, I would assume then they're out in the open.
That's true. Or else Bundy cut her up and fucked in a femur.
I've never heard of him cutting anybody up. And I've never really heard of him burying the victim either.
Oh. How long for...
They're usually just dumped.
Wet specimen to decay.
How long are
we? Have a look. Although an exposed body in optimum conditions can be reduced to bone in 10 days, a body that is buried under 1.2 meters under the ground would retain most of its tissue for a year. So again, yeah, about 10 days if you're out in the open. In optimum conditions.
10 days to turn skeletal? Mm-hmm. I fucking would have thought that was way longer.
Yeah. If insects, if insects can be taken out of the equation, your body would decompose quite slowly because maggots are pretty fast eaters.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's why optimum conditions, like perfect storm, 10 days.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
So it didn't take that long. I was always wondering how long they were up there before they were found, but that clears that up for me.
That autumn, Bundy began attending the University of Utah Law School in Salt Lake City, where he resumed killing in October. Nancy Wilcox disappeared from Holiday, Utah on October 2nd, 1974, and she was last seen riding in a Volkswagen Beetle. On October the 18th, 1874, Bundy murdered Melissa Smith, the 17-year-old daughter of Midvale Police Chief Louis Smith. Bundy raped, sodomized, and strangled her. Her body was found 9 days later. Next was Laura Aim, also 17, who disappeared when she left a Halloween party in Leahy, Utah on October 31st, 1974. Her naked, beaten and strangled corpse was found nearly a month later by hikers on Thanksgiving Day on the banks of a river in American Fork Canyon.
Must be. I mean, obviously it's terrifying. But I would assume, because they said, like, you know, when it comes to serial killers, we've talked about before about them having this mask of this normal person, and when it slips, you can see that there's, you know, dead behind the eyes and fucking that they're an animal, like, you know. What it must be like to have someone with that fury come down on top of you, and then afterwards you're trying to rationalize with the person, but you know in your own head this person is not going to be budged. This person has made their mind up, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're fucked. Like.
Yeah. Exactly.
And at that point, I suppose all you can do is fight back as fucking hard as possible. But
I don't know. There's like, do you know what? It's like I've read a few interviews with girls that have survived like rape, abduction, and rape before, where they've said that they genuinely felt in that situation that like they were going to be killed. That have decided instead of fighting back that they would play along, and they've been told this is what saved your fucking life. Like, and that's scarier in itself.
Larry Murphy case, the one that he got caught on, she, the second time, she kind of just went along with it and was kind of trying to convince him to let her go in a way of, if you let me go. And loads of them do that. It's a kind of a way of, if you let me go, obviously, by acting like you're consenting to it, you're building a relationship with them, and no, they're not going to kill you because they think you love them, and you think that you can kind of trick them into thinking you love them, kind of thing, because they are mental. I mean, they're not looking at any of this rationally, and it is an attempt. It's an attempt at self-preservation. I mean, it is something you would do, like, you know, because essentially they probably have a knife or a fucking psychopath that's twice their fucking strength on top of them.
Exactly. If you can't match them physically, psychologically, and I know, like, you still have to do something shitty, like, but psychologically, you're fighting them. And
you know what's worse then about all that is when it comes to court, that it will be used against a woman.
Yeah. Because, well, not really. I'm pretty sure if you're like, well, he had me at knife point. And
depends. It would depend on what evidence was there. Like, you know, I mean, imagine if you were caught in camera and it seemed like you were going along with it. What if he records you on his fucking phone? Do you know? For his own pleasure later and all this kind of stuff, and it makes you look bad. Well, and I'm not saying that as in it makes you look bad. It's just I know that the court would use that against you, and that's the fucked up thing about it. Like, do you know? And then it's wrong, like, because I understand 100% what you're saying. By going along with it, it's just a way of, it's the same as playing dead, essentially. Do you know? It's playing possum.
Oh, that's what you would fucking do. Is just fucking
it's just, if I go along with this person, and it happened in the BTK case as well. This woman, he came in and he told her that his fetish was to tie women up and have sex with them, and if she went along with it, he would let her live. And her exact words was, "Can I have a cigarette first, and then we'll get it over with?" And once he had her tied up, that's when he kind of got in the back of her and said, you know, the fucking killer that's been stalking the streets, that's me, and then started strangling her.
Okay.
But again, that woman was looking at it in the case of, if I fight back, this man is going to kill me. If I just go along with this, it'll be over and I can call the cops.
Yeah.
Do you know? So, I mean, I fully understand that notion of it as well. And what else can you do in certain situations? And it's shit too, but I think with that situation, every avenue is a shit avenue.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know?
It's just what one is going to get you the fuck out of there to survive.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyway, in Murray, Utah on November 8, 1974, Carol Durant narrowly escaped with her life. Claiming to be Officer Roseland of Murray Police Department, Bundy approached her at the Fashion Place Mall and told her that someone had tried to break into her car and asked her to accompany him to the police station. She got into his car but refused his instruction to buckle her seat. They drove for a short period before Bundy suddenly pulled to the shoulder and attempted to slap a pair of handcuffs on her. And in the struggle, he fastened both loops to the same wrist. Bundy whipped out his crowbar, but Durant caught it in the air just before it would have cracked her skull.
What the fuck do you do in this scenario, right? Because in America, the cops are notoriously heavy-handed, right? Mm-hmm. If you resist arrest or tell them you're not coming with them, they are going to put you on the ground, handcuff you, and force you to come along. So if you're fucking standing there and someone comes up to you with a badge and a uniform and says, bang, you are to come with me. If you say no, I mean, and you're wrong, you're resisting and the cops are going to beat the living piss out of you.
I've seen videos on Facebook in America where they're like, you know, like it's not so much resisting, it's arrest, it's that they don't understand, well, they're feigning maybe in some cases that they don't understand, and they asked, can their like higher up or their whatever like come down, and they do bring the higher up. I think that if it was in my position,
because I mean, like some people would say, well, maybe if they have a partner and all that stuff, but that could be two killers.
Well, then they could just be calling their friend as well. Oh yeah, this is my supervisor.
But generally as well, I mean,
if I see two cop cars, I'm more inclined.
I was going to say, obvious rule of thumb: if there is no cop car, if the cop is driving a Volkswagen Beetle,
then you're in trouble.
He is not a cop.
Volkswagen Beetle painted blue.
I mean, they are going to be driving something a little more powerful around in the face.
Unless you're the cop that's in the doghouse.
Fucking hell. Because this shit, he's not the only one to do this. Jerry Brudos used to do this. That was the guy with the foot fetish and the boob fucking paperweights. Yeah. And there was a few others, definitely. I can't name them off the top of my head, but it's definitely a common trick.
But that's because it's a person that you are supposed to trust. You're supposed to...
I know, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then the problem the American cops have brought on themselves is that, you know, they're heavy-handed, so it's hard to fucking tell in what scenario. Because I'm telling you now, if I was in America and a cop started telling me to do something, I'm doing what the cop tells me to fucking do.
But you see, that's where you can get caught as well. There's a whole movie about this. It's a true story. There was these girls working in fast food places and, you know, like retail and whatever. And there was this guy claiming to be a cop, and he'd ring and they'd be like, right, well, this is the manager. You're the manager. I'm telling you now that she's stealing stuff, and you have to strip search her and you have to do this to her.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fucking fucked up.
I think the only thing you could do is make a small bit of a scene.
Yeah.
Like, enough that people will start taking out their phones. But I mean, obviously you couldn't do this in the 70s. But in this day and age, if you make enough of a scene, somebody's going to pull out the phone and start recording. And be like, I want to go Karen on him. I want to speak to your manager. Where's your higher-ups? And then someone's going to put a phone on you. And if he's a serial killer, he's going to be like, do you know what? It's a big misunderstanding. He's going to go. And if not, you're going to get arrested. But you were going to be going there anyway.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you can explain, I was afraid for my life. I didn't know if this was a real cop or not. He wouldn't get his superior from me when I asked.
But you know what? You just kind of have a feeling.
He was driving a Volkswagen Beetle that was missing the fucking side seat. I mean,
but you do kind of get a feeling sometimes, because when I was maybe like 19 or 20, I got a phone call one Sunday morning. Now, at the time, I did go out in Limerick like every so often, but this is Sunday morning. I was in Kerry that the night before. I had not set foot in Limerick City, and I got a call and I missed it, and then it called back again, and it wasn't a Limerick number. I do remember that. I can't remember what number it was. Could have been a mobile number or a private number, whatever. But there was an older guy on the phone, and he didn't say my name, but he said, "Oh, we know that you were in Henry Street in Limerick like last night, and there's windows broken, blah blah blah." And I was like, yeah, like, whatever, like, you're full of shit. Like, and hung up. And then it rang back again. And then my boyfriend at the time, I turned around and I was like, holy shit, like what do I do? I was like, that wasn't me. I was in Gary last night. But then he went on the phone and was really, really fucking sarcastic back. But then your man backed down. He was like, oh, obviously we have the wrong number. And the whole thing just felt so odd to me. Really fucking odd. Like, if they wanted me to come down to the Garda station or something, why would they give me all that information? Why would they give, like, do you know, like, they wouldn't tell me that there was windows broken.
What used to be doing in these days? Because you've had some weird stories to me. I mean, there was the one time Amy was just like sitting there, was like, there was this one time there was someone running around my back garden and I called the police and they were like there in like 2 seconds and plain clothes and they were like, well, did you see me? I was like, Amy, if the cops got there that quick in plain clothes, they were looking for that guy.
They stayed outside my house for hours until my dad came to collect me at 3 a.m. that morning.
That was a dangerous person that they were looking for.
It seemed like 2 seconds. No sooner was I off the phone and I still remember what they were wearing, like, knocked at the door. They were like, right, we'll be sitting here in this car until your father comes for you. My father drove like 2 hours or something down from me.
Yeah, they were looking for that guy, so there was someone dangerous around your
in the back garden. Genuinely, do you see where this window is now? I was standing there. There was somebody in the back garden, the same size as that. There was a tree in the middle of the back garden. I could see him like standing and then running across the tree.
Oh, he wasn't like staring in at you or anything.
Well, I don't know. I could see like the shape standing and then running.
I'd freak out.
Yeah, see, we didn't have curtains on the sitting room window. So you used to come down the stairs and to get to the kitchen, you had to like walk into the sitting room and then turn that way in the sitting room for the kitchen. So I had no choice but to pass that.
And you were home alone?
Yeah, and do you know the killer part of it is I would think there was like 9 of us in the house at the time and I was the only person in UCC and we came back earlier after Christmas and I was the only person and it was dark as well and it was shitty and it was rainy and I was the only person there. And we lived like in kind of like a cul-de-sac housing estate as well and we had a graveyard and then the hospital. You know the hospital.
Thank fuck they got there so quick. So I was going to say, what would you do while you were waiting for them to get there? Like, you know, but
I sat in the stairs. I would not go into any room with a window in it. Even when they were outside, I sat in that stairs. No, I went up to my room, I closed the curtains and I got my few bits and pieces together because I'd be coming back the next week when everybody else was down anyway. And I sat in the stairs till my dad came for me.
Anyway, go on. Yeah. Back to Bundy.
So anyway, Carol Durant, she got the door open after she caught the crowbar in the air and she tumbled out onto the highway and escaped from her would-be killer.
He did stop the car, didn't he? Wasn't he trying to get out together again? But there was more cars coming. He got the fuck back in and drove off.
Yeah. About an hour later, a strange man showed up at Viewmont High School in Bountiful, Utah, where the drama club was putting on a play. He approached the drama teacher and then a student, asking both to come out to the parking lot to identify a car. Both declined. The drama teacher saw him again shortly after the end of the play, this time breathing hard with his hair messed and his shirt untucked. Another student saw the man lurking in the rear of the auditorium. Debbie Kent, a 17-year-old Viewmont High School student, left the play at the intermission to go and pick up her brother and was never seen again. Later, investigators found a small key in the parking lot outside Viewmont High. It unlocked the keys of the it didn't unlock the keys. It unlocked handcuffs taken off Carol Durant. In 1975, while still attending law school at the University of Utah, Bundy shifted his crimes to Colorado. On January the 12th, 1975, Karen Campbell disappeared from the Wildwood Inn at Snowmass, Colorado, where she had been vacationing with her fiancé. With his fiance. She vanished somewhere in the span of 50 feet between the elevator doors and her room, and her body was found on February the 17th, 1975.
Hey.
Next, failed ski instructor Julie Cunningham disappeared on March 15th, 1975, and Denise Oliverson in Grand Junction on April the 6th, 1975. While in prison, Bundy confessed to Colorado investigators that he used crutches to approach Cunningham after asking her to help him carry some ski boots to his car. At the car, Bundy clubbed her with his crowbar and immobilized her with handcuffs, later strangling her in a crime highly similar to the Hawkins murder.
You know, I'm reading The Godfather at the moment, right? I'm nearly finished it again. But when I was reading the Sicily part, where Michael goes to Sicily and he gets married, and it's the whole courtship of him and his missus.
Yeah.
And again, I know it's wrong that it should be like that, but in the 70s in America, it sounds like they needed chaperones to be courted, to get and go on dates and stuff like that. Because in the 70s, 70s and 80s in particular, it just seemed like every other person could be a serial killer.
You still need chaperones here?
Huh?
Would you still need to chaperone here in the 70s?
We didn't have any serial killers, unless maybe up in the north, all right. Maybe with Protestants and Republicans and Catholics, but no, I think you're pretty much safe around here, thank fuck.
Oh, no, but you had chaperones anyway.
I know, yeah, just to make sure you weren't having sex, but...
Or holding hands.
But in this case, you know.
Yeah. Lynette Culver went missing in Pocatello, Idaho on May 6, 1975 from the grounds of her junior high school. After his return to Utah, Suzanne Curtis vanished on June 28, 1975. Bundy confessed to the Curtis murder minutes before his execution. The bodies of Cunningham, Culver, Curtis and Oliverson have never been recovered. So Curtis is the woman that I was saying that if he had more, he'd have been rattled off more after her, I reckon.
In hopes of being...
That's what I'm saying.
Alive,
desperate man, yeah.
But at that point, most of the families that
had missing bodies,
shit,
kill him.
Fuck him.
Yeah,
we know he did it, so just kill him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in Washington, investigators were attempting to prioritize their enormous list of suspects. They used computers to cross-check different likely lists of suspects, like classmates of Linda Healy, owners of Volkswagens, against each other, and then identify suspects who turned up on more than one list. Theodore Robert Bundy was one of 25 people who turned up on 4 separate lists, and his case file was the second on the to-be-investigated pile when the call came from Utah of an arrest. Do I say Utah properly? Is it Utah or Utah? Okay.
So this is his first... This is the arrest before his first escape. Yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the time, and this is, was it all these cases that he represented himself? I know he had, fucking public defenders.
And, yeah.
But into the main part, he always stepped up and took care of business for himself.
Oh, he did.
And in this case, that was how he made his first big escape. Because we're not going to get into all the details of the cases. The cases are pointless to get into. Like I was just saying to Amy there a few minutes ago off mic.
Okay.
You can listen to every little detail of his court cases on Mini Monsters. What we're going to do here is we're going to just give you the highlights and mainly the escapes and his murders.
This is your life.
There was some highlights to these fucking cases. No, not so much the first one. The first one, the only really big highlight is that he escaped.
Yeah.
And that was because he was a big part of his own counsel. He got to use the law library in the courthouse during recesses and during breaks, and he had specific
he wasn't
times.
Guarded well enough.
Well, I suppose it was on a second story, and he had a guard on the door, so it wasn't expected that he was going to get out. Okay. But Ted, being Ted, said "fuck that" and jumped out the window and took the 2-story drop, spraining his ankle in the process.
I think he only sprayed that.
And he made a break for it and headed for the Aspen Mountains, where he hid out for a few days, isn't it? It wasn't long. It was only a couple of days.
Yeah,
I think he was out for
lost.
about 6 days, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah, he came across somebody who went from their watch party.
I was looking for him, yeah. He talked his way out of that one. And then he just pretty much just got lost up there. He had intended on going one direction and ended up out on the road and was caught on the way down and locked up again. But that wasn't going to be his only escape. That's the thing about him. That's what makes him so interesting. This man has 2 fucking prison escapes under his belt. No, I know the first one wasn't a prison escape. He escaped through court. But the second one is a genuine, full-on, I left fucking jail.
You're still under arrest. You're still,
I know, but he didn't have the same sort of security that a prison would have hold. A prison is a bigger achievement than walking out of a courthouse.
I assume it would be... Oh, could you argue that? Do you know, if extra time was added to your sentence because you broke out of prison, but you actually did it when you were a courthouse, could you be like, well, technically I didn't break out of prison?
You still
what's the word?
Absconded custody.
Oh yeah, custody. There we go. That's the word.
You're under custody. You're under there.
Yeah.
So the second time they had him locked up again, and he was basically allowed to do the same kind of counselling stuff again. He was able to do it all from his cell this time, though.
Okay.
Wasn't allowed out. They'd bring him the books from the library to his cell. He worked inside there.
Okay.
What they didn't know was Ted had begun tunneling. He had worked out that he could basically get into a vent above the ceiling of his cell and make his way out through there into a guard's apartment. There was apartments on site for some of the guards that lived in the prison. And he would be able to walk out get changed there and walk right out the front door. But he had to lose a bit of weight in the meantime. So he spent a couple of months trying to drop weight, doing fucking push-ups, not eating, all this kind of shit. And eventually he was thin enough to make it out. And was it I believe, was it New Year's Eve I might be wrong on that. Was it New Year's Eve he did it?
He did it. He broke out. Let me have a look. I have the date here.
Because the guard whose apartment he went into was out. He was on a night out with his wife. And I thought it was a New Year's party.
December 30th.
Yeah, so it was a Christmas, New Year's kind of party that they were out to. And he made his way out into the guard's apartment through these vents, got changed in the guard's apartment and walked right out the front fucking door. And off he went to... Where did he go next? You know what's happening next. What's happening next? He went to Chicago first, was it?
First of all, he stole a broke down MG, but it stalled out in the mountains. And then he was on the side of Interstate 70 in the middle of the night. And then a driver gave a ride into Vail, and there he got a bus to Denver. And then from there, he caught a flight to Chicago.
Yeah, so Chicago was the destination he was looking for.
And it was 17 hours later when the guards noticed he was gone. So he was already in Chicago.
Jesus Christ. How the fuck? Ted Bundy, this guy has slipped away from you once already. Probably the most notorious serial killer you have dealt with to this point. And I mean, media-wise, how did it... Well, I suppose, was the media frenzy up there at that point? It must have been.
Must have been, yeah.
But yeah, so did he do much damage in Chicago? I don't think he did a whole pile in Chicago, did he? He wasn't there very long.
No, because when he got to Chicago, then he took the train to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where he got a room at the YMCA. And then on January 2nd, 1978, he went to Ann Arbor Bar and watched the University of Washington Huskies. That was the team of his alma mater, and they bet they bet Michigan in the Rose Bowl. And then he stole a car in Ann Arbor, which he abandoned in Atlanta, Georgia, before boarding a bus for Tallahassee, Florida, where he arrived on January the 8th, 1978. So he kind of just travelled. And
I wonder, did they ever look into see was there any bodies with similar MOs to Bundy along that route? Sure they did, but I suppose what can you pin on?
Yeah.
But this will be kind of his big finale, his big finish.
Yep.
And he'd go out with a bang.
So there he rented a room at a boarding house under the alias of Chris Hagen, and he committed numerous petty crimes, including shoplifting, purse snatching, and auto theft. He stole a student ID card that belonged to Kenneth Misner and sent it away for copies of Misner's social security card and birth certificate. He grew a moustache and he drew a fake mole on his right cheek when he went out. But aside from that, he made no real attempts at a disguise. That's like fucking putting on the glasses and a fake moustache.
Well, hang on. We've talked about this before, and it is possible. We've said this. We've looked through his pictures. He is it does change. And I pointed it out to you. The biggest thing, because you always hear this big thing about Clark Kent and Superman. How it's ridiculous how a pair of glasses changes him. And then we realised watching, but that's it. We realised watching Christopher Reeves. It wasn't. It was all about the posture. It was all about how he moved, how he talked, how he walked. And there was this one scene. I think it might be Superman 2. It's the one in Niagara Falls. When was that? Was that the first one or the second one?
2, I think, isn't it?
And Lois is, I can't remember where she was, but he was walking on this hallway, and he's walking down as Clark Kent, and he's all slouched down. Next thing he takes the glasses off, and he just kind of stands up straight, and suddenly there was a visible difference. You could see how you would not notice that this was the same person. They were, and again, I always say that. I mean, I'm a big kind of thing of, you need, even when you don't feel it, you have to act confident.
Exactly.
And that, and the posture, I mean, it sounds stupid, but posture.
It goes a long way.
If you stand up tall with your head tall and you act confidently, then people will treat you like you were confident and treat you like you're, in charge of what you're doing. And, it helps, even if you're not feeling it in the inside, because a lot of the time you might be feeling it inside, but it is the best thing you can do. Best thing you can do for yourself when you feel shitty is get up, put on your best fucking clothes, clean your fucking self up proper, stand up fucking properly tall, and fucking just try your hardest to act as confident as fucking possible. Yep. And by the end of the day, you should be feeling better. No, that's not obviously a fix-all for depression. There are various different reasons and, things that go into that. But I'm just saying for just, those days where you feel shitty.
Those days that everybody kind of,
It's a good way of dealing with those days.
1 week after Bundy's arrival in
don't do what Bundy did with that advice.
in Tallahassee in the early hours of Super Bowl Sunday on January 15th, 1978, 2.5 years of repressed homicidal violence erupted. Bundy entered the Florida State...
Which answers our question that he was not killing in Chicago.
Exactly. He entered the Florida State University Chi Omega sorority house at approximately 3 a.m. and killed 2 sleeping women, Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman.
Am I right? That was just like literally with a log or something like that. Didn't he just go in and just start beating one of them with a log? Or am I thinking of Richard Speck?
He bludgeoned and then strangled them.
Okay.
Yeah, and he also sexually assaulted Levy. He also bludgeoned 2 other Chi Omegas, Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner. The entire episode took more than half an hour. After leaving the Chi Omega house, Bundy broke into another home a few blocks away, clubbing and severely injuring Florida State University student Cheryl Thomas. On February the 9th...
And they wonder why all slasher movies revolve around teenagers and fucking college students.
On February the 9th, 1978, Bundy travelled to Lake City, Florida, and while there he abducted, raped and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, throwing her body under a small pig shed. On February the 12th, 1978...
That's the child, is it?
Yeah. On February the 12th, 1978, Bundy stole yet another Volkswagen Beetle. You'd think he'd fucking stay away from them, and left Tallahassee for good, heading west across the Florida Panhandle. On February the 15th, 1978, shortly after 1 a.m., Bundy was stopped by Pensacola police officer David Lee. When the officer called in a check of the license plate, the vehicle came up as stolen. Bundy then scuffled with the officer before he was finally subdued. As Lee took down the unknown suspect to jail, Bundy said, "I wish you had killed me." At his booking, Bundy gave the police the name Ken Misner and presented stolen identification for Misner, but the Florida Department of Law Enforcement made a positive fingerprint identification early the next day.
Now, again, we're not going to get too far into this. We all know what fucking happens next. Bundy is found guilty of all these crimes. But there were some high points in the case. I mean, and that's what we're just going to run through here, is some of the parts I remember. Do you remember that one of the coolest scenes and one of the coolest video clips of Bundy out there? I might find it and put it up on TikTok.
Kind of like
is
the sad starts to...
No, that's awesome.
Oh, on the steps.
When he is brought out to have the charges read to him by the officer the detective that's been chasing him for so long. You know, he's in the shackle and chains. He insisted on doing it in front there, or they insisted on doing it as a press conference, and they usually wouldn't do that. And he's just leaning up against the wall with his arms crossed in the shackles and chains and in the jumpsuit, and your man's reading off the list of the things he's being charged with, and then he starts to freak out and starts to give out and starts to like do this big speech for the media that are there and all this stuff. And there's a back and forth between him and the detective. So it's fucking like it's crazy. It's stuff that never would happen today.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like that's the thing. There's so much of Bundy there for us to look at. I mean, there's one scene of him coming into court all dressed up, and they're asking the news reporters are asking him. They're like, "Are you still a law student?" He's like, "Yeah, I plan to have a great practice once I'm finished up cleaning up all this mess." This guy truly believed he was getting away with it. Like, you know?
He was.
And like you said, then there was a few other big moments in these cases. Like there was in his first case, there was obviously he won the judge over. Yeah. And the judge loved him. And the judge even said he was like, "It's killing me to give you the death penalty. And under other circumstances, I believe you would have been a great lawyer, and I would have loved to have watched you practice law in my court." And wished him well and all that. I sentence you to death, but I wish you well in all your future endeavours.
I don't agree with when he's excuse me. I don't agree with when he said, "I don't feel any animosity towards you." I don't understand how you can't feel any kind of like ill will to a person. Say
this is his charm. This was his ability to charm people and his ability to win people over.
The man killed was just...
Oh, I get what you're saying. He's disgusting. There is no redeemable quality about him. But think about the 70s. Think about a fucking old fucking judge he looked to be at least in his 60s. And he was probably getting entertained by Ted Bundy on a daily basis. Do you know? And he's not really, and I suppose someone like that would be desensitized. The fact that he sentenced him to death, well, he knew the severity of what was going on. But, you know.
Yeah.
I think he might have been kind of charmed by him a little bit and maybe entertained by him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like...
I agree with him. I understand how he could see that he'd be a good lawyer, a good politician, how he would have had a bright future. I agree with all those statements. But the thing about he didn't feel any animosity towards him, that's just...
I would tell you, before we get into any more of his crazy fucking antics in court, people would look at the true crime fans sometimes and be like, how can you read that stuff? And I do, and I just have this weird interest in it. And all the details. I want to know all the gory details. I read everything. Any little fucking thing. And the more and more details, the better. But I can tell you now, by the time I'm finished reading about all these people, I hate them. Like, I despise them. I can't stand the idea of being around. I do not believe in the death penalty, but when I read about some of the things these people have done, I'm like, I kind of understand why people like this should be fucking killed.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, then it's like, well, see, I hate the fact that like BTK is in prison and he is enjoying the fact and relishing the fact that people come to visit him or send him letters and he gets the attention. Because I always have the theory that he got himself caught on purpose. Because in his eyes, it was time to retire as a serial killer. He had done the work. Now he was going to reap the reward and be the celebrity.
Yeah.
And he couldn't be the celebrity without being caught. And it's like, I fooled you for this amount of time. Here I am. And I'm going to sit back in my cushy prison cell and read letters from all my fans and write crazy stuff that everyone's going to, and doctors and scientists and crime writers are all going to come and they're all going to listen to my story, and I get to relive all those experiences over and over again. And on top of that, I get to manipulate a whole new fucking bunch of people and lie to them and tell them stories whatever way I want to tell it. And I get to finally shape my narrative the way I want to. That cunt should have been fucking given a needle. Because fuck him, that's what that would have been the thing he did not want.
Yeah.
We see here in Bundy's case, the death penalty was the last thing he wanted to happen to him.
Yeah.
But
so
fuck me, he deserved. And I hate saying that because I'm against the death penalty. I just think that if they're not going to have a death penalty, though, prison for those type of people should be a lot fucking harder.
Yeah.
Do you know? Should be a lot fucking harder. Now, other antics with Ted Bundy would be he would constantly fire at the other counsel that he had working for him. He'd call them say that they were kind of sabotaging his case or that they were no good, and he'd sack them halfway through. And I think that kind of sometimes kind of causes it rather delays the trial or causes a mistrial, and they have to redo.
Well, if you're going through public defenders, true. I mean,
so that was happening fairly often. And then after he had been already found guilty in one state and had the death penalty in one state, he was in another state, I believe it was Florida, that had the rule that if you asked a woman to marry you in court in front of a judge and she said yes, you were automatically married. So Ted Bundy had his then girlfriend, I can't remember her name, but his then girlfriend came into court and he brought her up for questioning because he was
Caroline Boone.
Yeah, and he was his own solicitor, his own lawyer. And during the questioning, he asked her, would she marry him? She said yes, and then he announced to the court kind of, we're married now.
And now he gets conjugal visits.
And he got conjugal visits. That's why there is a Bundy Jr. out there somewhere. He's had a little girl. Nobody knows who she is, what her name is now, what she does now, where she lives now. And I think that's for the best for her.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Ted tried everything in his power to slow down the process of the death penalty. He wore out every appeal possible. He went down every avenue possible. He offered to help in the Green River Killer case, which we will touch briefly on in this week's episode of Dexter, of It's Alive Alive podcast, Dexter Part 2. There's a small bit in the Green River Killer in that.
Okay.
And I'm sure fucking all Gary Ridgway will turn up on this show at some point.
That's one I think it's because I saw the really good two-parter about it when I was younger, and his case really interesting.
It is a very interesting case. It's a very interesting case, and I can't wait to get into that sometime as well. But yeah, and then like you said, there was the end where he basically told them he would tell them where every last body was buried if they extended it again. He wasn't asking for it to be stopped, he was asking for it to be extended, and he would tell them where all the body parts were. But apparently a petition went around by all the victims' families, and he asked them basically to petition for him, and they all said, no, go fuck yourself, you're gonna fry.
Right, so.
And on top of that, there was literally like what the Americans call a tailgating party. They do it for football games where they turn up with all their barbecues and beer and sell t-shirts, and they drink and they eat before a football match. You see it in TV sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
That basically happened on the day of Bundy's execution. There was people outside with signs saying Fry Bundy, Fry Bundy fried. There was t-shirts with Bundy in the electric chair being fucking fried. There was fireworks ready to go off. There was people eating fucking barbecue. There were people drinking beers. It's in the morning just waiting for him to be brought down. His last interview was with some fucking religious group, wasn't it? Some religious TV group?
It was with... Let's have a look here.
It was definitely a Christian TV channel. Do you have them?
Yeah, I'm looking.
People are going, what's going on now? Dead air. Quiet.
Just pause it.
This is a moment's quiet with Josh and Amy.
I have it, and I can't find it.
Huh?
I have it. I can't find it.
I clearly don't have it.
I know you wrote the script.
Huh?
You wrote it.
1 second. Okay, did you find that?
Yeah. So that was to James Dobson, head of the evangelical Christian organization Focus on the Family.
So, again, I was right. Christians.
Yeah.
And he blamed pornography. He said that the porno made him do it. And I say to that,
if that was the case, there would be millions of
we would be
killers.
killing each other all over the place. And
there would be no need for nukes.
I am telling you now, the pornography available in today's day and age is much more, if you want it to be, it's much more violent than what you were getting in those shitty little magazines that Ted Bundy was looking at when he was 16 in the fucking 50s.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, man. I mean, none of that. Look, and we're all adults, we can all admit, we've seen the older kind of, we've seen it just jokingly on fucking Eurotrash and stuff like that.
Bush porn.
It is ridiculous. And there's no way, no way that was, and he claimed that it was all this BDSM kind of porn and stuff like that drove him to do what he did. But I don't buy it, man. I don't get it.
No.
Do you know what I would have been interested to see is, apparently the cops missed it in a raid and he destroyed it afterwards, but he had a bag full of photographs from the scenes. I would have been interested to see with that, and a bag full of clothes belonging to the women.
Yuck.
And he used to give out jewellery that he'd take from the women off of to co-workers and to his girlfriend and stuff like that.
Yeah, his girlfriend, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so he spent his last few hours crying on video saying how pornography had ruined his life and made him a serial killer. And to that we called bullshit. And obviously he did the whole, I'm sorry, Jesus, please take me to heaven, Jesus. And
Jesus said
by
no.
Christian law, he is forgiven. And Ted Bundy now is up there with all the other good Christians.
I don't know. I don't believe that. Do you believe Hitler went to heaven?
See, the thing about it is, and see, this is the catch, and people are often fooled by this. And I mean, like, obviously, again, I have to admit I'm full-blown pagan. But, like, as kids, we were kind of led to believe this as well. And when you hear people joke about Catholics and all that stuff, it's like, oh, well, all they have to do is say they're sorry on their deathbed and they go to think.
You have
to genuinely feel remorse.
Just say sorry.
It can't be just words. It has to be a genuine feeling of remorse for what you have done.
It's like the whole idea of Egyptians when they die and they do like the way they feather against the heart. Like you have to feel like that. You know,
if you're a Catholic, you're not going to trick the Catholic God or the Catholic Jesus by just saying the words, because apparently they'd be able to feel whether you are remorseful or not. So I mean, I would back that up on that side of things. So,
but then what's the point in doing like 40 fucking Hail Mary? So when you go and confess,
and then some people would say that because it's contrition, it's your punishment, like, you know. And it's supposed to make you feel better because you've been punished for what you've done, so you feel like you're. It just
feels like a church full of like sadomasochists.
It's a scare tactic, so it's always scare you into believing, you know. And then other people would say, well, like it seemed like Bundy was remorseful in the end because he was admitting to stuff and he was crying. He was saying Bundy was scared of dying. He wasn't sorry for what he had done. He was sorry he got caught.
He was selfish, exactly.
You know, he's sorry he wasn't better at it. He was sorry that he got sloppy. Yeah. That's what Ted Bundy was sorry about.
If he was found not guilty, he still wouldn't have learned from him. You know,
and we've talked about, like, even after he was guilty, and we listened to tapes of him talking, and he talks like this when he talks about the killing.
Because he's so ashamed of it.
And he doesn't say it's him. He says, if the killer would do this, the killer would do it this way. And then sometimes when he was talking to me, he was like, I did this, and then I cut off her head, and I put makeup on her. It's like the sickest, darkest ASMR you have ever heard.
That was creepy.
But and that's where you really started to feel like, holy shit, this guy is terrifying. And
I wonder what it was. Was it that he was ashamed of it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think his main goal was, like, I mean, he was coming from a background that wasn't exactly, like, it was a lower background, lower income background. He wasn't coming from like the rich. And then he was there and he was trying to become a lawyer and a businessman like all these other people who he went to college with.
His plans.
But do you know what was the best explanation for it? Again, going back to Saltburn, we talked about it earlier with Doppleganger. We're bringing it right back around, full circle from the start of the episode. Watch how I do that. I close it out by the same way.
Great job.
But the same way Barry Keoghan's character is coming in and he's around all these people. He doesn't have that money. He doesn't have that backing. He doesn't have that silver spoon. But all these people around him do.
Oh, he is a bit of a Bundy, isn't he?
So Bundy is that guy, but Bundy wants to be these people. But unlike Barry Keoghan's very, very good and successful plan.
Yeah.
Bundy went down a different road and took out his frustration on these people by killing these fucking women who, like, because his first girlfriend that he loved and wanted to be with didn't accept him as he was, and he had to become something else to win her over and then tell her to go fuck herself. I think it was like, when he told her to go fuck herself, it was like, no, he wanted to physically act out how he felt against her, and he started doing that to other women.
No, I feel
he would have killed regardless.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But I mean, like, this was just the kind of the motivation towards the type of women he was killing, the style he was killing. He was obviously very sexually motivated.
Very good.
I mean, like, he had to be drunk to do it. He did. That was a common thing that he drank before doing any of this stuff. He always used his own first name.
Why?
They knew they were looking for a Ted. That was another thing. Do you know when you talk about Anne Rule and his girlfriend calling in
because it was Ted.
Because the picture, the drawing looked similar to him. They were looking for a Ted with a Volkswagen Beetle.
That's him. And it was yellow. It was yellow as well.
Even if the description wasn't solid on it, and I knew a guy named Ted with a Volkswagen Beetle, I'd be just like, look, just to be safe,
not going to hang around.
This guy named Ted's got a Volkswagen Beetle. You might want to just see where he was on Saturday. Do you know? But do you want to know one last? Oh, what was I saying about? Yeah, so I mean, like, that's kind of the best description of it. It was him kind of fighting back against them in his own kind of brain. But when it came to being embarrassed about admitting it, it was because it wasn't civilized behavior. It wasn't the kind of dignified way he saw that higher up going. So by admitting it, he was putting himself back down to that lower class that he was trying to get away from.
Yeah, yeah.
So whispering, or when he talked about it in the third person, it wasn't him saying he did it. It was his expertise in criminal psychology that was allowing him to do this. And they say that as well, that when he helped in the Green River killer case, that it wasn't like a Hannibal situation. That and a lot of what came out of his help from the Green River killer case didn't come from to help. It didn't help him in any way to catch Gary Ridgway.
Yeah.
But it gave him a real insight into Ted Bundy's mind and how it worked.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that was the big win of that fucking situation.
Okay.
But when it came to him whispering it, that was him finally admitting he had done the stuff. But he couldn't say it out loud because, like I said, it would bring him down to that path.
Yeah, I getcha.
Do you want to know one last, before we finish up, and we're going to finish up here. Obviously, when Ted Bundy was pronounced dead, the people outside cheered. I think, what did we say in the show? It was 2.5 minutes worth of electricity put through his body, and his final words were, "Give my love to my family and friends." But do you want to know one last creepy thing? And I got the picture here to prove it.
Oh, tell me.
I am looking at Ted Bundy's dead body right here in front of me.
Okay.
Ted Bundy died with a smile on his face.
No way.
A slight smirk. It's even in a headline. Killer dies with a smile on his face.
Gravity.
You know what he looks like? From seeing set photos. And it would play a great dead Ted Bundy if it ever came up. Christian Bale's Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
When you see the marks around his head from where the electricity went in, it looks like the scars where the brain thing was done.
So you're just employing him just to film the dead body scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zac Efron can play the rest. He did fine the first.
Frankenstein as Ted Bundy.
Oh, that was good. That was a good full circle Ted. But I mean, we spent obviously most of this on Ted Bundy.
Yes. But you still looked it up. Good job.
Oh, cool. Do you know what the t-shirt said? Because he died on a Tuesday, it said Tuesday is Friday. But it was FRY day. And a picture of Ted on the thing. I'd love to get my hands on one of those t-shirts. I got to see if I can get one of those t-shirts.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's it. That's Ted Bundy. Doppelgangers, and
What are the Wisp?
yes, but mostly Ted Bundy. Yes. And we have went nearly 2 hours again.
Holy
so
shit.
it's been about an hour and a half Ted Bundy and about 15 minutes of the other two. So enjoy. But I enjoyed it. I had fun, and we got through Bundy in a better way than we would have if we were doing this in the old way.
Absolutely.
See, I think it's better for you to tell the story of the serial killer and me to comment because I know more about them. Whereas before, I was telling the story and you were commenting on it, and you were kind of just trying to comment. You were commenting on stuff that I suggested you comment on. So this is a bit of a better fit when it comes to serial killers.
Yeah, definitely.
And same then, like I said, anytime I listen to, when it used to be called Creepypasta Crypt and I listen to your shows, I spend the whole time with questions in my head that I wanted to ask, so it gives me this opportunity to do that too. So I blended well into this Real Monsters show.
Yay.
Come back next week when we will have another new episode of Real Monsters with 4 new topics to talk about. And next week we have a new episode of Playing with Bones as well.
Oh, we do.
I don't know if she knows what she's doing for that yet.
Oh, I don't.
And if you come back, hopefully in the next day or two, you will hear Dexter Part 2.
See you then.
See you later.